Surprise. Well, it's not a surprise because you knew that this was happening. Hi, everybody. Look at me in my little circle. It's like the spotlight is on me. I am here. My name is Drew. You may know me. You may not know me. You might like me. You might not like me. But I am here today solo, not Sokoa, for Firmly AEW. I have not done a show by myself in quite some time. It's been a couple of years, so I might be a little rusty, but it's going to be fun because I've probably taken the most extensive notes on a show ever. Like I have notes here in probably more than JPJ fashion because I'm the only one talking, so I've got to make sure that I fill the time. So I was like, all right, I'm sitting here and I'm typing up everything that I think about any certain thing that comes up. So we're gonna get into it. Good morning, everyone. Um, I think we'll have people file in soon, and if you're here, say hello in the chat as well. Put some comments. I will bring it up. I will guide. You will guide me in some aspects. If you would like, if you want to support us here at Love Wrestling, support me, JPJ, uh, please send in a super chat. I will 100% be putting your comment on the air. I will spend some time on your question or statement. Hit like on the video, please. Subscribe to Love Wrestling if you have not yet. All that, amazing stuff. We really appreciate you all. We really do. So as you saw, the thumbnail and the highlighted topic that I feel out of the past week in AEW is Hangman and MJF. Their promo from last night, Dynamite. I legitimately think that this is AEW doing its best work again. When they get that long-term storytelling in, it's really a treat. And that's what the company was pretty much founded on, was the storied history of the elite, everything with Hangman in particular. So to have Hangman be featured, of course, I think is very special. And as the title says, I truly believe, as MJF said in this promo, which we'll get to in a moment, Hangman Adam Page is the main character. Let's get in. You know what? Let's get into the promo. So the show opened up with MJF coming out, and then of course Hangman makes his entrance. And this promo was I'm gonna read it as best verbatim as I can. Yes, Ryan, just one Drew today. There's it's just me. Oof. So Max goes into the It goes into like a little bit of a history lesson on the beginnings of Hangman, MJF, and AEW. It says the year was 2019. The first ever event in the history of the company was, of course, Double or Nothing. And they had the Casino Battle Royale match for the opportunity to become the inaugural champion. And MJF says he had it won. It was the biggest opportunity of his life, and Page screwed him. He said he cheap shotted him like a gutless worm. In only the way MJF can say it. So MJF had to scratch and claw to get back to the top by beating a bunch of names, none of which they mention on TV, but you know which names they're talking about. And he won the Dynamite Diamond ring a bunch of times, and he is recalling his accolades. And then Hangman asks why he is talking to him like he doesn't know him. Because that's what MJF does. He likes to list all his things like nobody knows who he is. He's like, yes, you're a 28-year-old and you're already a history maker and you should be proud. But why is it that when he lists his accomplishments, he's so angry? And then he says, there's still something he hasn't been able to win from. And, he's talking about like winning the adulation from the crowd, which, okay, we'll get into that in a moment. But MJF just is like shouts right at him. As soon as he mentions the crowd adulation, it's like boom, jumps right down his throat. And he says, he doesn't care about what the fans think. Good morning, Johnny. Nice to see you. He says he thinks it's funny that these hypocrites get to decide who's morally redeemable and who's not. Hangman gets everything on a silver platter because these schmucks decided he gets to be the main character. Title of the show. And then he lists, the guy who drank the man's blood, lit his house on fire, the syringe through the cheek. And then he's like, but Max has a question. He says, after everything that he's done, does he love himself? Does Hangman love himself? And does he love the things that he did to Swerve? Does he love himself after he ended the career of his mentor, Christopher Daniels, whom he calls I believe, a worthless jobber hack? And then Hangman jumps down his throat and shouts at him and just goes on like just a whole thing listing Christopher Daniels' accomplishments, which, I mean, of course, he's a legend in this business, so I can't say anything about that. Like, he took care of pro wrestling when pro wrestling didn't take care of him. He's the best of them all, and everyone should aspire to be him, pretty much. And there was the fallen angel chant, which I thought was really sweet from the crowd. Hey, Pluggo. And he says that the selflessness, self-awareness, and humility is what Max doesn't understand. And he doesn't have the talking, he doesn't have the stomach for it. And if his career, MJF's career, ended tonight, what would the fans say about him? Would they say he was a credit to our sport, or that he was an opportunist, a selfish coward, and a man who took every shortcut he could, chasing power and glory to get to the top? And he's saying, also to, about himself, he's lied 100 times in the last few years, but never to the crowd. And if he has a problem, he faces it head on. He doesn't run, he doesn't hide from everything that he's worked for. The tag titles, the world title, the family that stood by him through everything. All while MJF has spent all his time scheming, cheating his way to the top, purporting to be better than everyone. And so Max laughs at him and it was like, "Oh, well, you know what? Newsflash," which I didn't actually disagree with him here. Newsflash, the history books, they don't care how you win. They just care that you win. Is pretty much what he said, you know. And whether Hangman admits it or not, the powers that be of AEW decided that he was the person. He was the number one. He was the one that got all the propaganda and the buzz going into the first event of AEW and the beginning of the company. All MJF had to do was come with a scarf and a mic, which very true. You know, hey, sinner. um, and so he says Friedman turns to him and he says, "Oh no, he didn't say anything because they pretty much they end the promo there, and they're like nose to nose." Now I did not realize that they had in the beginning they had said that they had agreed to no physicality, and I believe that there would be a fine, and so instead MJF spits in his face. It's like, well, okay, technically it's not physical touching, it's just gross. It's gross. We don't need to see that, especially when it's like that stringy. Ugh, I can't even think about it. Anyway, so the security come in and they hold him in, and then Daniels gets in. MJ Hangman is knocking all the security guards out, and then Christopher Daniels pops up behind him, and he almost clocks him, and he just stops, and very calmly. I really, really loved the segment so much. Really calmly, Christopher Daniels is just like, "This is what I was trying to get you to understand. You know who you are, and this is who you need to be. This is the cowboy shit." I was looking at the time. That's the cowboy shit Hangman Adam Page that we all know and love, and this is what I was trying to do. And Hangman just nods and gets out of the ring. This segment was phenomenal. It was like this was like AEW of old to me, this segment. Um, as Sunday Sinner says, Hangman brought the best out of Swerve. Hopefully he can get MJF to step up to his game and do something different than the same old MJF tropes. Right. So the thing about this thing, something that I noticed, now this is there's some key points here that we have to remember for this. There was this really cool wrinkle in this promo that both men had a trigger, and I think that this is really what's showing the long-term storytelling right now of the company, that they are back firing on all cylinders 100%. So Hangman, when remember, he was listing off MJF's accomplishments, and then that he never won the fans over, which technically not true. Technically not true, because if you remember, um, 2023, summer 2024, you know, speaking of, look at the shirt I'm wearing, better than you, baby. Uh, he was massively over with the crowd. The crowds were chanting him, you're a scumbag, all that stuff. Um, so eh, I'll let that slide. Technically, that wasn't true. Um, but when Hangman mentions the fans, MJF just that's the trigger for him, and he jumps down Hangman's throat. Um, then MJF lists all of the evil things, the evil accomplishments, you could say, of Hangman's, and how the fans are on his side no matter what. And then he mentions Christopher Daniels and what he did retiring his mentor, Christopher Daniels, and that was Hangman's trigger. And then he jumps down MJF's throat. So you can see that the if you look at the two of them, this is what their stories are about. Basically, it's about the fans. winning the fans over when it comes to MJF, but keeping the fans on your side with Hangman, if you get what I mean. Because what did I put in my notes here? For Hangman, Swerve crossed the line by breaking into his house, and he saw that the fans were still cheering for Swerve, regardless of that fact. Swerve stood over the crib of his baby, and the fans were still cheering for him. And it made him so angry that he burned down Swerve's house and drank his blood. And after all of what he did, if you can go back, so like, because this is like a pivotal moment in the Hangman character. If you go back to that all out moment, after that match is over, that bloody as hell cage match, where he drank the blood and that whole thing, the culmination of that storyline with the two of them, and he kneels on the ramp and he screams. And you can see that that scream signifies that he actually hates what he became in that moment. He had to, like, just soak in that moment. It's like, "Oh, I became this awful, evil thing that I never wanted to become." But because I think what kinda did was, like, he didn't like it, obviously. I don't think that he ever liked becoming that person, but he was disgusted with Swerve getting love and adulation from the crowd still, even after what he did, that it just warped his mind. And to such a degree that anyone that tried talking him out of attacking Swerve or tried helping Swerve, he would then go and attack. Jeff Jarrett being a big example. Um, but the interesting thing about it is that once anything related to Swerve was done, he was immediately after the AEW championship. And the interesting thing is that what MJF said was true. Throughout it all, throughout that whole time that uh, Hangman, really was going after Swerve, the fans still loved him. And, they mostly, I'll say, not everyone, but mostly never turned on him. And I'm really interested to see if they have Hangman finally acknowledge that when he gets face to face with Swerve again. Because through all his evil things, his dastardly deeds that he did, when the dust cleared, Hangman was still cheered. And that's what he got mad at Swerve for. So that dynamic there, I think, would be really interesting when Hangman and Swerve eventually get back in the ring together, because it's not going to be opposing sides anymore at that point. And I think you could also kind of see it too, because Hangman has been kind of like trying to want to talk to Swerve, and there was that moment a couple weeks ago where Renee caught him trying to go into Swerve's locker room, and he just like, I don't want to talk about it, and he just walks away. Um, so yeah, so I feel I'm really interested to see what's going on here, in my eyes at least, and you can agree or disagree with me. Um, is that they're redoing the storyline in a sense with Hangman and MJF now, because what MJF are saying in that promo, he's mad that the fans turned on him and are cheering a guy who's done evil things. That's exactly what Hangman was doing with Swerve. If you remember, 'cause we just talked about that. Hangman was mad that Swerve was getting all of the cheers and the adulation from the fans, even though he was doing evil things. MJF is basically saying the same thing. So I don't know if MJF will have this Hangman type of a run this year, where Hangman becomes his Swerve in a sense, and now Hangman and Swerve becomes the new Hangman. Hangman and MJF becomes the new Hangman and Swerve. Because if this segment alone did anything, I'm very interested in their match at Revolution, because that is gonna rule, and it kind of feels like it won't be over from there. So, we'll see what happens. That's in 2 weeks, I believe. Revolution, right? March 1st? Or is that 2 weeks from now? Well, technically, it was 2 Saturdays from now. So Saturday the 22nd, then the 1st. So, a week from Saturday is when Revolution is, and that's when they're gonna have their match. So, I'm excited for that. I'm hoping, really, again, this was that perfect storytelling method that AEW was just excellent at and excelled at throughout the beginnings of the company, and I hope that this is what they continue with, 'cause there's some things that they're doing that are not great that we'll get into, um, but when it specifically comes to this, I am a humongous fan. Sunday Sinner said he thinks Hangman ends up putting hands on MJF and they cancel the match. Oh, interesting. And then we get MJF versus Daniels. Well, Christopher Daniels retired though, so I don't think he's gonna have a match again unless he comes out of retirement. I mean, I guess he could do that. I don't think he's physically unable to wrestle again. I think that was just his decision. Um, but I don't hate that. I don't hate that though. Uh, because MJF did kind of like, not to take a phrase from another company, but he did kind of like become a legend killer in some sense. He had the match with Jeff Jarrett, he had the match with Dustin Rhodes. So I wouldn't hate that idea because Daniels, I think, would fit that mold. Um so we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Oh, so Collision, I'm sorry, Home Revolution is his hometown, is Daniel's hometown. Okay. Interesting. That could be possible, maybe. Um, I would have thought though that if they were gonna do that, they would have just had them touch last night, and then that would cancel the match. But they could still do that though, so we'll see what happens there. Um, the next biggest thing that we need to talk about is our AEW Women's World Champion, the new world champion as of Grand Slam. Timeless Toni Storm has returned. She is now the champion again. I am so happy about that. Um, and what I found really awesome, so I had said, they're going to be in a theater. She should have. Oh, well, the funny thing is, I kind of look like I have a spotlight on me right now. Um, she should have a spotlight on her, and that's exactly, thankfully, that's exactly what they did. Um, so she came out, and they put the spotlight on her. She's in the middle of the ring, no other lights. This was really well done. Um, and her promo, my God, she she calls herself the whore that we all adore, a slut you can't rebuff, and a tramp who is your new champ. She faced a woman from hell in front of her friends, her family, and her former lovers in Australia. Um, she's proud to have given the fight of her life before she beat Mariah May, the sick bitch she referred to her as, with her small package. And oh my God, Timeless Tony Storm says that the best things come in small packages. Debatable. But Mariah should have worn protection because she railed her with the biggest package there's ever been. Oh god. She plugged this movie, Queen of the Ring, that she's gonna be in on March 7th. I don't know if that's like, an actual movie in the movie theater or if that's, like I don't know what that is. I haven't heard of that until now, so we'll see. I don't know if it's on, a streaming service or if that's, like, in the movie theaters. Queen of the Ring is called. And as for the world title, she wants to face, the very best, and she mentions Chris Statlander, she mentions Willow Nightingale. And, of course, she mentions that bitch Wendy Richter. To seek her out, God is a woman and her name is timeless. And then the fade of that spotlight was just it was absolutely beautiful. I heard my cat meowing, but I don't see her now. So anyway, um, yeah. So I loved this. This was it's like I said, like if they're gonna do the show in the theater, they've gotta do it with her in the spotlight. She's in a theater. This is where she excels. Um, so I'm happy that they did that. And it did appear I talked with JPJ about this. It did appear that yeah, Fernando, this was an excellent segment, 100%. Um, it did appear that it's resetting the women's division because Mariah did not come out. She didn't have any kind of segment. So I don't know if maybe they're holding off on her. Maybe they'll do a rematch at Revolution. I don't know. Because Revolution is only a week and a half away. There's not going to be any time to build a new feud with Tony at this point. Only so short amount of time. Um, so what I think is probably going to end up happening is Mercedes. I think is going to be like, yeah. For now, I mean, it's not gonna happen right now, obviously, because Mercedes has somebody in her sights at the moment, and she also still has the TBS championship. So they may hold off on the world championship until after Revolution, which, okay. I mean, they're gonna have plenty of matches there, plenty of title matches. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But I personally feel like Mercedes is gonna be the next one after she loses the TBS championship. Um Anybody agree, disagree, who you think? Let me know. Put it in the chat. Again, like I said in the beginning of the show, if you want me to focus on your chat and you want me to spend some time on it and you want to help support us here at Love Wrestling as well, please send in a super chat. And again, hit like on the video to help that algorithm on YouTube because that darn YouTube algorithm. And and thank you. Just thank you for being here. We always love you and we support. We thank you for supporting us and now Fernando just said world championship versus TBS championship. I don't know if I would do that. I really there's been a lot of like this champion facing or in a tournament for another championship, and I don't think that's a good idea at this point. I think we need to establish the divisions, both men's and women's, and all facets. The the TNT title and the international title and the tag titles and the women's title and the TBS. The we have enough people here. We don't need to have TBS champion going after world champion, TNT champion going after international champion. We don't need to see all that stuff. There's enough people on the roster. Everyone can hold a title on their own and not be going after championships. Um, I agree, Sinner, and I feel like that's the reset. This is what the reset of the women's division, I think, is what it needed because I talked with JPJ last week about how Mariah, I didn't hate her run as champion, but it was just not up to par the way that I think everybody was expecting it to because The beginning of it with, Mina Shirakawa was really the only time that you could think that she was gonna lose the title, and they weren't gonna make her first defense be the one that she lost it, because that just makes no sense. Um, and after that, I think she had, like, a little thing with Willow and maybe Chris Statlander and, like, one or I think Thunder Rosa. Yeah, Thunder Rosa, she definitely had a match with and a little feud there, but it just seemed like the division was on hold until Timeless Tony Storm came back at Grand Slam because it was in her hometown, and they wanted to do the the match in that grandiose place to bring back Timeless Tony Storm and do exactly what they did, which is fine, but you gotta make the the middle point between the start and the finish, you gotta make that mean something too, and I feel like that's what they failed on delivering on with Mariah, which is unfortunate because it's not really any fault of her own. I think she was a very good champion, but the people that they threw at her weren't really believable enough because we all knew that it was gonna be Tony Storm in Australia at Grand Slam. So, they didn't really like Fernando. AEW didn't have a follow-up plan to Mariah winning the title, really, which unfortunately seems like a lot of titles wins lately. Daniel Garcia, Private Party, when they had the tag titles. Um, it's just been kind of like directionless in a couple of areas. Now the tag titles aren't directionless. And in fact, at some point in this show, um, uh, Lance Archer and Brian Cage announced that they want to see the tag champions, the Hurt Syndicate, on Collision on Saturday. So, uh, sure. I mean, that's kind of direct to me. It might not be for everybody, but that kind of feels directionless as well. Um, they're just having random teams fight the champion. The Gun Club just came back, and within a week, they were already fighting for the championship. And now Lance Archer and Brian Cage are just fighting for the championship. Um, so all right, so it's, hopefully there's something coming down in that lane too. Um, now other things that happened on Dynamite last night. I want to touch on some stuff that happened on Grand Slam as well, because that was an important show. It did great numbers for AEW. Very happy about that. Um, I watched it. And it was good. And you will not be hearing about the bullshit that was talked about on social media because those people aren't real and they're dumbasses. You know exactly what I'm talking about, and I am not referencing that because fuck those people. So the ops, Samoa Joe, Hook, and Shibata faced the patriarchy, and I'm very happy to see Samoa Joe back. He's really been missed. God, I missed him so much. He was gone for like, gosh, most of 2024, I believe, right? Or at least from like May, I think, May on, and then just returned at the end of the year. Um, so it's really good. I missed him very much. And what I think happens with him being around is that he elevates Hook. Because right now, Hook with Samoa Joe, I feel makes sense because Hook by himself, as much as I like him, kind of lacks in believability in his promos, and he's got that kind of like Scrappy Doo feeling in his promos, but his wrestling is very good. But when he talks, it's kind of like, uh, I don't know if I'm believing you that much. But I'm happy to see him with Samoa Joe because I think Samoa Joe elevates him for sure. And Shibata. Don't have to mention Shibata. Love him. He's in the group. And even though, he has his own thing, his own like gimmick with the translator on the phone and whatever. His storied career of being the grappler that he is, it just makes sense for him to be in this group. So I have no problems with it at all. Now, interesting thing to note on the patriarchy side of this. Um, Christian Cage is 100% dumping Nick Wayne at some point because he doesn't care about him at all anymore. Like in the beginning, it was like, "Oh, this is my son. I love him." And now he's tagging Nick in just like blindly, just like, "Oh yeah, no, this ain't for me. You go handle this business." And you see Nick just like, "Wait, what?" And then at the end, the end of this match was, "Hey, Christian Cage is on the outside, and Samoa Joe is stepping to him, and Hook has him in the red room, Nick Wayne, and Christian's just like, okay, never mind, just backs up. He just backs up and walks away, and then the match is over. And I don't know if you guys noticed this. After the match was over, his mom goes to pick him up on the ramp, and Christian pulls her away. He's just like, no, 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 pulls her away. So something's definitely going on there, and I agree with Sinner. He just said they pretty much moved Nick Wayne into the Luchasaurus spot, 100%, without a doubt, absolutely. Uh, Now we haven't heard about Luchasaurus. Mostly, I just see a report a couple weeks ago that he is actually doing better, which is awesome. Really happy about that. But um, we don't know what his wrestling, if he's going to be ever wrestling again, if he's even going to be back on TV. We don't know that. So it makes 100% sense for them to transition this now into Nick Wayne because Christian has fully accepted Kip Sabian into the group when he had wanted nothing to do with Kip Sabian. And it now kind of feels like Kip is being positioned as the Nick Wayne guy. And like Center said, now Nick Wayne is being positioned as Luchasaurus. So if we can now have the idea that I said, which was Luchasaurus only helped Christian win that contract so that this way he can screw him out of winning it after he cashes it in. If they would like to do that now with Nick Wayne, I am 100% on board. Because I do not believe, as much as I love Christian and everything that he's been doing since he started the patriarchy and everything, I do not believe Christian Cage ever needs to hold the AEW World Championship. I do not need to see it. I don't need to see the person who's currently going after the AEW World Championship holding it either. Um, as much as I enjoy and love both of those men, I would rather not. I don't know what that looks like long term. It probably wouldn't even be a long term thing because Darby's right around the corner at some point. He's right around the corner on Mount Everest, climbing back down, and we'll get back to doing what we want him to do here, which was reclaim AEW from the evil people that have hidden its titles and they're acting, all crazy like Moxley. And we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But Nick Wayne is 100% getting dumped. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because if Christian Cage plans on cashing in that contract at Revolution, uh please don't. Just have Nick Wayne. Just have Nick Wayne be Nick Wayne, the Nick Wayne that he should be, and put him in that Luchasaurus role, and just have him wait, wait for the cash in, and then screw Christian Cage out of it. Wait for the cash in and the bell to ring, and then do it. Don't do it beforehand. Do it when he cashes in and the bell rings and it's an official match, and then Moxley, I guess, uh, pins him. I mean, I don't believe we'll talk about this next week on Firmly AEW when JPJ is back, when we do the preview for Revolution. But I don't believe that Adam Copeland is winning. At least I hope Adam Copeland isn't winning. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Let's see. We got some chats that came in while I was talking. Johnny says that this could lead to Joe winning the contract from Christian. Then we get Joe versus Mox. I don't hate that. Honestly, I don't hate that. I doubt that that's what's going to happen though. But I don't hate it though. Honestly, Johnny. So Fernando, you said give Hook a mouthpiece like Paul Heyman. I think that's what Samoa Joe is. Now, obviously, Samoa Joe and Paul Heyman aren't the same when it comes to like managerial / talking, but I think that Hook with Samoa Joe is a infinite time better than Hook without Samoa Joe. For what I highlighted before, I think that just like the believability of his promos when he's by himself isn't. It's lacking. It's just lacking, and because like honestly, he if you think about it, he's really got like that Eddie Kingston type of scrappiness in him. Hook. They're both from New York. I know people like them, personally, and the only thing that is different about it is that Eddie when Eddie talks, holy shit, do you believe him? And um that's what's lacking with Hook. So if maybe down the line Hook and Eddie Kingston became a team, I would not hate that at all. I think just like Samoa Joe, Eddie Kingston would really benefit. Hook would really benefit with being with somebody like an Eddie Kingston, like a Samoa Joe, who are those like powerhouses who get shit done and have a hell of a great talking style. But Hook can just be like that guy that is that scrappy do type of a guy, and it works. I think it just works with Samoa Joe, and it works with if it happened with Eddie Kingston, that would be great. Probably not, but it's good to see him paired with somebody like Samoa Joe because then the believability is there for me. Fernando agrees. Cope and Christian should not win the AEW World Championship. Will Kenny a swerve? There's a litany of people that it could be. It could be Darby. It could be Orange Cassidy. It could be, Kenny Omega. It can be Will Ospreay. It can be Swerve again. It could be MJF. It could be Hangman. There are so many people. Both companies, too. Even with WWE, both companies right now have believable world champions, and that is a great thing. That is a great thing. Corey. Hey, Corey. Nice to see you here. Corey says they should just give the belt to Jeff Jarrett. No qualifying, no match, no pomp and circumstance. And then, of course, so this Corey, hello Corey. This was his lovely comment about Jeff Jarrett, and of course, the Jeff Jarrett lover. Of course, of course. Senator knows Jeff Jarrett personally, so I can't take anything away from him there. And Jeff Jarrett's a good guy, but I would not. So there was a street fight on this show uh, between Big Bill and Powerhouse Hobbs, and honestly, it was fine. The thing The thing that is, like, the big thing in wrestling right now is the big meaty men slapping meat and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I like it in moderation. I'm not like, I need it on every show. It's not, like, something that drives me to watch wrestling. It's just 2 big men. Um, this match had a nice level of violence to it, and I do believe Hobbs was the right winner. I think he deserved the win. But the finish was a bit strange because it definitely looks like something was messed up there, and I mean, the 2 tables were set up there. Obviously, Big Bill was supposed to go through both tables, but the match ending because, Bill's arm was stuck to a piece of barbed wire. You have legs. They work. They're not tangled up in anything. You could just stand up. It's not like, you could stand up with the barbed wire attached to your arm. It's not like we haven't seen it before. Um, it's, it obviously he was supposed to go through both tables, and that was meant to sell more, him being tangled in barbed wire and broken wood, and then, the 10 count, and then he loses the match. But, um yeah, he just went through the one table because they mistimed it, and then he just looked silly, just, like, floundering around on the floor with a piece of barbed wire stuck on his arm. It's like, you could just stand up. So, but I enjoyed the match. It had a good level of violence to it that I think it needed, and, I enjoyed it. So, we'll see what happens with Will Hobbs and, Big Bill now. Uh, there was a point in the show where Chris Jericho, Mr. Learning Tree. Um, he oh, right, because it was just right, Fernando, it was just a street fight, right? It wasn't a last man standing match, but so they just, like, did a count, and then so why did it end that way if it wasn't a last man standing match? Should it have not been a count then? Should it just have been laying there until he got up? Because it wasn't even in the ring, it was on the outside, so I'm not, um I don't know. Somebody in the chat wants to give me some insight on that. That would be great. But anyway, so Chris Jericho was talking about Bandito, um, and it seems like Bandito and well, not seems, it is what's happening. Bandito and Chris Jericho are going to be fighting for the Ring of Honor World Championship on Collision this week, and um, cool. I doubt Bandito is winning, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Okay, so Ryan says, I think all matches technically have the ability to count a guy down if needed. Okay, so street fight rules don't change that. Fine. So that makes sense. Sinner says if he would have been knocked out, it would have made sense, but the fact he was moving around and trying to get up, the referee had no reason to count. Um, Yeah, I'm just like, okay, it's only like really striking me now as I'm thinking about it and I'm reading these comments that's like, wait, why was there a count out if it was a street fight and anything, but um that's what happened. Uh Fernando Bandito is definitely winning the Ring of Honor championship. I don't think it's going to be on Saturday. Maybe Revolution or the next Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Probably Revolution. Um which is fine. That's you just have we are accustomed to Ring of Honor titles being defended on AEW pay-per-views. It's just a thing that they do. Uh, so yeah, um, So that's fine. Um, Now, one part that one of the things I had an issue with, and this was multifaceted because it started on Grand Slam on Saturday and then continued here. Uh, Firstly, going to Grand Slam, so we're gonna press the rewind button. We're gonna rewind back to Saturday here, with Adam Copeland and Jay White facing Claudio Castagnoli and John Moxley at Grand Slam. Um, how nice was it to hear that whole crowd sing Adam Copeland's theme song? That was a very special moment, and you could see the emotion in his eyes, and that's cool stuff. So I'm really happy that that happened. Good on that crowd. That crowd was really good, by the way. That was a great crowd for Grand Slam. Um, so the thing about that I didn't like was I had thought originally that Adam Copeland was going to win to push the match for Revolution, but then I remembered, oh wait, Moxley already agreed to the match. So they didn't actually have to have Adam Copeland win to challenge. So obviously John Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli are going to win. So I didn't think about that at the time. But what bothered me, and I know it was in Australia, it wasn't just like in a regular place in the States, but there were so many people there. Uh, is it is it weird to me that it feels like nobody cares about Adam Copeland? Because like they're trying to kill him, and they tried to kill Danielson in the past, and half the roster came out to help Danielson. They tried to kill Orange Cassidy and FTR, Adam Copeland himself, Daniel Garcia, Darby came out to help. But when Adam Copeland is getting killed in the ring, everyone's like, eh. I was just like, why isn't somebody coming out to help? Where's FTR, as Synergy said? Where's FTR? Where's uh, Daniel Garcia? Where's Orange Cassidy? Even he came back for Dynamite last night, but he hadn't been seen since the last match he had with Moxley. So where's he been? Why didn't he come out to try and save Adam Copeland? Uh, it was just I liked that shot of both Copeland and Jay White, laid out in the ring, and Copeland like reaching out. Sorry, Jay White reaching out for Adam Copeland. Um, but yeah, that was just strange that nobody cared about coming out to help him. It's like, okay, that's strange, especially FTR, like Sinner said. That was the group I was expecting the most to come out. Not even like the Outrunners, like somebody come out and help Adam Copeland. This is Adam Copeland, the guy whose neck, he had to retire, and he came back, and he has neck issues, and nobody came out. So like, oh, all right, that's weird. Yeah, the Australia crowd was pissed after the match. Chanted bullshit. Um, so now on Dynamite, Willow is cutting a promo, and immediately Marina Shafir attacks her. By the way, I would love to see Marina Shafir wrestling because we haven't seen her wrestle since she joined the Death Riders. Um, so we'll see. Yeah, if that happens, Marina and Willow would be a great match. I'd love to see that. Um, so then Moxley actually like does the thing that he didn't do when advertised the time that he was supposed to seize the superstation of TBS, and then he didn't, and it was strange that was like how do you advertise taking over a superstation but then you don't even do that. But then, like, tonight well, last night, he, like, takes over in a sense. He just takes over the show, not necessarily the TBS Superstation, but there's like, Hey, here, come over." He grabs the camera's, you know, focusing on him. So it's like, "Oh, okay." It would've been nice if you did that when you had announced that you were seizing the Superstation, but, fine. So he comes out to the ring and, he gets on the mic. He says he's the champion of the world, which means this is his microphone, and he's pointing at the cameras and like, these are my cameras, this is my ring, my building, my seats, yada yada." And and it was like, oh, so we're kind of he had like kind of taken himself away from saying this is my company and all that stuff, but now we're back to that. So like, okay. I mean, I never hated that really. I thought it made sense for the storyline, but then they just like kind of went away with it. But now they brought it back. So okay. So he says that Adam Copeland isn't there because he's probably still face down in the dirt in Australia. I like that line. Um, so he says Adam Copeland in here is probably still face down in the dirt after he popped his head off his shoulders with his bare damn hands in that, great way that John Moxley talks with that like gravel in his voice. Um, and if he shows up at Revolution, he's gonna finish the job. So Jay White comes out by himself, and then Pac appears behind him, starts like walking towards talking towards Jay White, and then Adam Copeland appears, and the two of them dismantle the whole group. And Moxley, they chase him out into the crowd. Copeland gets on the mic, he calls Moxley out and says this isn't his arena or his seats or his people, they're Adam Copeland's, and calls him a coward. He's got no balls, no guts, no spine, and the goon squad and is gonna get taken out one by one. So I guess there's only one more week. So I don't know. Maybe they'll have a match with Copeland and Wheeler Yuta next week on Dynamite. Uh, there's not that much time for him to take out everybody because there's only a week, one more Dynamite, and there's only one more Collision this Saturday, and there's one more Dynamite next week's Wednesday before Revolution. Revolution is on Saturday. So, I don't know what's gonna happen there. But I'm imagining maybe there'll be like another segment next week where Copeland takes out maybe Wheeler Yuta, probably Wheeler Yuta, because that's what Wheeler Yuta is there for. Um, so yeah, so my issue really is just like Jay White and Copeland were able to get the jump on 4 people and chase them out. And when Jay White was alone before Adam Copeland came out, you know, it's obviously there's a suspension of disbelief that needs to happen. But I was just like, well, there's the Gun Club, there's FTR, there's people that can be like, hey, uh, let's go help the guy who's going out there alone to face 4 people because according to what we know, Adam Copeland isn't there. That's what John Moxley said. But I don't know. It's stupid wrestling stuff that sometimes bothers me and sometimes doesn't. It just happened to bother me last night. Um, but whatever. Um, technically, well, Wheeler, I don't remember if Wheeler Yuta was there. I think he was. Yeah, he was there. So technically, it was 2 people taking on 5 people, and chased 5 people off because it was everybody. Yeah, Pac, Claudio, Wheeler, Moxley, and Marina. So, yeah, so there was 5 people that 2 people were able to chase off. Um, yeah, it's just weird. Sometimes it's weird to me. Revolution can't come fast enough. Right? I just wanna move on from this, honestly. Um, so Mercedes and Harley Cameron had their match at Grand Slam Australia. If you remember the, preview last week, I said it would be nice for them to just put the title on Harley Cameron because it would be like that shocking thing that, um, that would be like, "Oh, yeah, we see and acknowledge that Harley Cameron is very over with the crowd right now, and the Monet puppet," which is they should be selling those. AEW, you need to be selling the Mercedes Monet puppets. You gotta be doing that. You're losing money, leaving money on the table. Um, I really enjoyed this match, though, at Grand Slam. I picked her because I wanted to be different because I knew Mercedes was winning. Um, so she was on Dynamite, and she gets called out by Momo Watanabe, who I believe won a match at Wrestle Dynasty in Japan. I think that was the show. And then she can now pick whomever she wants to face. And of course, she picks Mercedes for the TBS Championship. Um, so that's cool. I mean, I don't know anything about her. I'm not really into not that I'm not into New Japan per se, but I'm not up to par with everything that's going on in New Japan. So I'm sure the match will be good. Um, and I'm kind of sad that they've just kind of done away with Harley Cameron for now, it seems. But hopefully AEW still capitalizes on her overness because I'm sure she's still going to get cheered whenever she whenever she comes back. So hopefully, there should be follow up. There should have. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. Look who's in the chat right now. And he said literally what I was just about to say. There should have been follow up last night with Harley Cameron. It would have been nice. Hi JPJ. It's nice to see you. Um, yeah. So I was hoping that they would do that, but uh, yeah. So we'll see what happens. I just don't want to. I don't want it to be like the typical thing where somebody's really hot and they're not on TV for 2 months. Like because they've done that before. So we'll see what happens. But Mercedes and Momo Watanabe. Um, Bonker says there's 3 dynamites and 2 collisions. 3 dynamites. Isn't Oh, am I wrong? I thought that Oh, Oh, I got my pay-per-views mixed up. My apologies. The Elimination Chamber is on March 1st, not Revolution. Uh, okay. So there are Thank you, Bonkers. That was very helpful. So there is now time for Adam Copeland to take out the Death Riders before Revolution. Um, Thank you. Okay, so Revolution is on March 9th. Next week is the Elimination Chamber. Thank you, Bonkers. Okay, so good. Now that promo made more sense. He does have enough time to go after the Death Riders. Good. Uh, so Megan Bain and Chris Statlander wrestled last night on Dynamite, and I think they gel well. I'm enjoying their feud so far. What the heck was that ending though? That and it wasn't the ending of the match. It was Thunder Rosa. So Thunder Rosa comes out with a chair to save Chris Statlander, and just is like awkwardly standing there and like kind of hinting that she's gonna like hit Megan Bain or Penelope Ford, but then doesn't, and is just standing there weird and pulls away and then goes up to them and then pulls away. And then eventually, finally, Megan Bain and Penelope Ford leave the ring. But in the beginning, I had originally thought it kind of looked like Thunder Rosa was going to turn on Chris Statlander and hit her with the chair, but that didn't happen. So I was just like, okay, this was just very awkward, and I'm wondering if there was like a mistake that was made there, something going on, because that was just very, very odd. I did not understand that at all. Um, After that, we had everybody down for the Ricochet. That's his theme song. That's what it says in the beginning. Uh, Ricochet comes out and he cuts this promo that was like, oh, okay. He's this heel turn. Yeah, this is exactly what he needed. Um, so he's still wearing the robe that he stole from Prince Nana, and he's upset that he's getting booed, and he calls Phoenix the poor man's Las Vegas. Because as soon as he's done with this promo, he's just getting out on his helicopter. It's like, oh, that's some rich guy stuff. That's nice. A helicopter. Never been one of those before. Um, he says since the people are ungrateful animals, he wants to talk directly to the people at home. He's a winner, and he proved it by pinning Swerve. And really, he won the moment that he stepped in AEW because he's been whooping all the asses of our favorites. He whipped Swerve Strickland. He whooped Will Ospreay, Darby Allin, Commander. He did not mention. He didn't mention Brody King, because he did technically win the match against Brody King as well. Um, he says the winners always have something to show for it, and if he's showing off the robe, he's not another name on the roster. He is the main name on the roster, and he came to win gold, and his sights are set on championships in 2025. He'll be a champion because he's too damn good looking not to be. Accurate. Very accurate. So Prince Nana comes out without Swerve, does not do the dance. He just gets right in the ring and says he knows what Ricochet is thinking, but this isn't that. He wanted to take time to come and talk to him one on one. Nana asks Swerve to not show up. He asks him to stay home. He knows that they've been beefing up and down the road, and he doesn't know where it's going, but he knows that Ricochet is wearing something that doesn't belong to him. And in the 3 decades that Prince Nana has been in the business, the robe that he always wore represents pride, integrity, and those that we've lost. And anyone wearing it is supposed to have honor that's bestowed upon them. And Nana never gave Ricochet that honor. So if he's the winner that he says he is, he should do Nana a favor and return the robe to him. So Ricochet just goes like this, like up to Nana. He's like, go ahead, take it. Take it if you really want it. And Nana is just like standing there trembling. And Ricochet's like, oh, are you going to cry? And he's like, oh, yeah, all right, we all have emotions, but you're not getting the robe back. I love that so much. It's so silly and stupid, and so many people talk shit about it, but I don't care. I just think it's great. Um, Johnny, I don't know if Nana is coming back to wrestle. I think um that would be fun to see. Because I don't believe he's physically unable to. I think he just stopped wrestling to become a manager. Um, but Nana versus Swerve for the robe, I wouldn't hate to see that. Donna, hello. Thank you for liking WWE. On Tuesdays at 10 a.m., I'll be joined with my co-host JPJ, and we will be discussing WWE on Firmly WWE. This is Firmly AEW on Thursdays. But thank you for being here, and I hope to see you on Tuesday when we talk WWE. Um, so I would like to see that match, Nana and Ricochet. With maybe continuing to with Nana having Swerve not be present, but then at the end of the match, obviously comes out because Ricochet is taking it too far, and he's trying to end his career, and not Swerve comes out to save him. So that would be nice to see. I don't hate that. Well, now hold on, Johnny. Hold on, Johnny. But no, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Nana turn on Swerve. um, some people did kind of talk about that because it did seem maybe that uh, Swerve was kind of not liking the direction that, or Nana was not liking the direction that Swerve was going in. Um, but I don't think that that means that there's going to be a turn necessarily. So, so we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I need to take a very quick swig of water because I've been talking for over an hour and my throat is very dry. Give me one moment, everybody. A Nana and Ricochet pairing would not be terrible, honestly, Johnny. So I don't disagree with you there. But there's just something special about Nana and Swerve and the dancing and everything. It's I don't want it to go away. Selfishly, I just don't want it to go away. Um, so the main event of this show was Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong for AEW International Championship #1 contendership to face the international champion, who will then face Kenny Omega at Revolution. Now, I don't hate it because Kenny Omega, I think, absolutely 100% deserved it. It's kind of like it's very much playing into like what John Cena is doing right now. He's just called his shot for the Elimination Chamber. He didn't have to qualify for it. So it's like when you are that type of a person, when you are a John Cena, when you are Kenny Omega, you call your shot. I have no problems with that. um, so the fun parts of this match were Orange Cassidy hugging Kyle O'Reilly and then turning around to Adam Cole and just going like, and turning around, and then Kyle made this like really funny face into the camera of like, uh-oh. Concerned Kyle. And that was funny. And this was a really good match between these two. They do the springboard tornado DDT and the chops, and Cassidy ducked the lariat into the satellite DDT. It was really good. This was a great match. And as I kind of predicted, Orange Cassidy wins to become the #1 contender for the international championship, and that's cool. I'm happy. They were gonna have him talk right after the match, but then of course Don Callis comes out. Don Callis comes out and he tells Orange that he's gonna go telling everyone he's the greatest international champion of all time, but to him, he's nothing but a red-headed hippie and a loudmouth. And he sends Mark Davis and Takeshita in to attack Cassidy. And then Kenny Omega comes in to make the save. And the match ends with Kenny Omega holding the international title and Orange Cassidy in the ring with him, and the heels retreating. That's how the show ended. Um, so there's some people I like the match, but this ending part kind of fell a little flat for me. Uh, there's some people that I just don't need to see every week on television, on every show. And remember that was like the criticism that Chris Jericho was getting a lot for most of last year. Well, really for more than last year, been quite some time now, probably since the Jericho Appreciation Society. Um, I do not need to see Don Callis on every Collision and every Dynamite every week. It's his role. He plays his role very well. But I don't remember the last time he wasn't on TV. Can anybody tell me the last time he wasn't on TV? Because I bet you can't remember it either. uh, it is becoming a little Jericho-esque. Um, and then it's like when I see nothing happening with the Continental Championship, and then I see Kenny Omega involved in this now over a month storyline with Don Callis, I'm just like, okay, can we get to the thing that we all want to see? um, this whole thing with Don Callis needs to be over after Revolution. This cannot continue. Uh, and nothing against Takeshita, nothing against Kyle Fletcher even. Because I love them, and they had their match against Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega at Grand Slam, which was a great match. It was one of the highlights of the show. I really particularly love Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher together. Um, I think they gel really great as a tag team. They're in sync with each other, and it's really a great thing. And Osprey, there was that one point in the match at Grand Slam where they're showing Takeshita in the corner, and Osprey rolls over Takeshita to the outside just out of nowhere. That was insane. That was really an insane spot. And of course, Osprey and Omega won. Um, so then Omega challenged Takeshita for the international title. Uh, so we'll see. We'll see what happens there because there is going to be at Revolution, as Johnny just said, Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay in a cage match. Oh boy, that's gonna be crazy. That is gonna be crazy. Um, and then the last thing to talk about regarding the shows, Kazuchika Okada and Buddy Matthews had a Continental Championship match at Grand Slam. There were a few moments there where it looked like Buddy maybe was gonna win, and the camera was doing an excellent job of making you not see that Okada was close to the ropes. So, this was a very good match, and, at that one moment, it looked also like there was maybe gonna be a ref bump, and they played it smart, so, uh, I had seen not an official report that, uh I'd seen an official not an official report, sorry, that maybe Buddy, like, rolled his ankle when he made his entrance. I haven't seen anything about it since then. Hopefully that didn't happen and he's okay because I would like to see more from these 2. I think these 2 were, a highlight of the show, and Buddy is just such an awesome wrestler. He's so great. Like, the agility and his speed for his size, he was at one point a 205 live wrestler, but he looks like he's 250 pounds of muscle. So, it's just great to see him getting in a ring like that, and there's some people, like, Beast Mortos is, just so agile for his size, and, Brody King as well. There's, like, a couple of people in AEW right now that are like that, so I would like to see more from Okada and Buddy Matthews, if possible. Um, the last thing that I wanna mention is, uh, Gabe Kidd is a special man. He very much reminds me of Eddie Kingston in that, I mean, they're like one and the same, pretty much. Like, they're believable talkers, they're fantastic wrestlers, and Gabe Kidd is gonna be on Collision on Saturday. I'm really excited about that. I'm gonna be watching that, because I only just found out about Gabe Kidd last year. He did this interview, I think it was with some Los Angeles TV station, like, news station, and it was so he's so good. He's just so charismatic, and he looks great, looks like $1,000,000, and he had this incredible match with Kenny Omega to start the year in Japan, and everyone talks so highly about him, and it would be really cool to see him in AEW more. I feel like he fits there very nicely. I mean, he'll be probably in New Japan for a little bit longer. I believe his contract might be coming up, but New Japan definitely should keep him for another 2, 3 years, I think, and then maybe he could transition to the States. Um, the good thing about this right now is that they have the natural pairing with Forbidden Door and whatnot with AEW and New Japan, so he can always come and take on an AEW opponent like he is on Saturday. So I'm very excited for that. And you should be too. Everybody should be checking out Gabe Kidd. So that's it. I'm done. I've talked about everything. I'm very proud of myself. Uh, overall, I will say I am very, very much back on board with the direction that AEW is going. Um, there was a while from like right after the 5-year anniversary show up until the beginning of this year, where I was really sour, and I was not excited to really be watching the shows most weeks. Um, but since like Maximum Carnage, it's really been picking up, and like I said at the start of the show, the storytelling that they're doing, particularly when it comes to Hangman and MJF, is really, really well done, and that's the type of storytelling that got AEW off the ground. So I'm glad that they're going to this type of storytelling, and I hope that it continues. And hello, Real Tight Spot on Twitch. Nice to see you. We are about done with the show, unfortunately, but you can, of course, go back and watch. And I will be back with JPJ, my co-host, on Tuesday for Firmly WWE. And I enjoyed this week, uh, kind of doing my own thing. It was very interesting. I had Dan Brown on Firmly WWE on Tuesday, and uh, my show now by myself, solo Natsukoa. Uh, so it was fun. I enjoyed it. I haven't podcasted by myself in a while, and it's nice to see an active chat when I podcast by myself. I have not done that in a while. Look out for thank you, Johnny. I hope I did a great job for everybody and I didn't disappoint too many people. Because when you're doing this by yourself, while I have experience doing it by myself, it's just not the same, obviously, as when you're bouncing ideas back and forth with somebody else. So I really appreciate the chat today for coming in and helping me out. Bonkers, you helped me out thinking Revolution was on Saturday and not Elimination Chamber. So thank you very much for that. Thank you to Sinner. Thank you to Johnny, Donna, Real Tight Spot, Fernando as well. You were active today. JPJ came in for a moment. Thank you, JPJ, and everybody else that came in today. I am Drew Nicholas. You can follow me at the Drew Nicholas on Twitter and on Blue Sky as well. You can follow at Firmly LW. That is our Firmly Love Wrestling account on Twitter to keep up with everything that's going on. We are going to be more active on there. There's just a lot of stuff that happens sometimes, and then we get taken away. But I promise you, we will be more active on there. I hope you've been liking the style of the show the last week. I kinda, like, threw it at JPJ last second. I wanted to kinda start having a highlighted topic to really focus on at the start of the show and then break down, the rest of the show afterwards, regardless of where it was, um, where its placement was, whether it was the beginning, the middle, or the end. It just so happened that this time's highlighted topic that I really wanted to focus on was at the beginning of the show. But the past 2 times, it's kinda been, like, middle or end of the show that, I wanted to highlight. So I hope everybody's enjoying that. It's a little bit of a different thing that we're doing here that we're gonna continue with. Um, I think it's important to really hone in on the big topic that everybody wants to talk about first and engage with everybody and then keep talking about the show after that. Um, so we'll see how that works. I hope everyone enjoys that. Um, follow Sandy. Sandy, I was literally about to end the stream, Sandy. It's nice to see you here. Solo. Yes, I was solo today. JPJ was out and I couldn't get together somebody to host with me. So I just was like, you know what? Let me do it solo today. So maybe you go check it out. Go check out the show today, Sandy. I know you're not an AEW guy, but you can tell me how I did on Wednesday when we get back here for Firmly WWE. So for myself and only myself, until next time, peace out.